Hi guys, welcome to my video. And in this video, I'm explaining my theory, my essay, my model regards to my Jakubczyk's triangle theory. So this is my completed model, and I will explain you how it works. First of all, I will say some words that you may be familiar with, and also see and realize during my explanation, my theory, my thesis about what I discovered, and it's all about optical phenomenon, the optical phenomenon of the human nature, the optical vision, the optical perception phenomenon in the human nature. So in this example, on this theory, on my model, I have defined it in different colors, which I will explain what color means what. And my name is James Paul Jakubczyk. It's my model, I designed it, and it's my essay, my theory, and it's about the human optical phenomenon perception. So it's all about optics, about perception, the human nature, the environment, the space, the sky, etc. It all begins, and what you on this model is based on my experiment with this flexible mirror. With this one, all what you need is yourself, and this is based now on this mirror, and it's flexible, as you see, and bendable. So if you have a bigger mirror and the distance is bigger, then you have to scale it up or down according to your experiment. So this is based now on my mirror like this, right? It has this size. That's what you only this and your only eyes. So everything what is red, right? Everything that is red is the mirror. It's this, the mirror. Everything that is green is the objects in the mirror. And this line is yourself. The first line is yourself. So, and I said it in a video before, you always represent 180 degrees. That's why I wrote it. So that's you, 180 degrees, that's you. So the you and the mirror, both in the beginning, I call it the rest mode, the start, are actually just two parallel lines looking in the opposite to each other, or looking at each other, right? So it's you, the 180, and the mirror itself, 180, and you look in the mirror and you see the object and you see yourself in the mirror. So after in a distance from 6 inches away from your nose, right, you start to bend the mirror in 120 degrees, right? So the mirror goes away from you and your hands come into you. So it looks like this, right? So you bend the mirror out and the outer sides come in towards you. So it looks like this, right? Like this. Till approximate, these are approximately inches and approximately degrees. It could be a little bit less or more. You gotta figure it out. So if you bend, the first step is, the next step is if you bend it in 120 degrees, away 6 inches from your eyes, right? It's all that distance is from your nose, eyes till over here. So you bend the mirror in 120 degrees. What happened with the objects, what you see in the mirror, the reflection, is that all things get stretched out. It's stretching out and it tries to stretch out your completely view, right? So if it's this size, right, only this size, so the objects in there try to fill out this area completely by deforming itself, by being formless and shapeless, that it becomes at the end just like you're mixing colors and painting, kind of like wishy-washy. So that's what happens. If you hold now if you keep holding in an angle, in the bending angle of 120 degrees, and you going away and more away from you to about 12 inches, what happens is that the objects in the mirror that are reflected gets more and more stretched. So you cannot, it looks like you cannot recognize any particular forms, because everything becomes linear or curved. Everything becomes linear and curved, and it becomes extreme stretch out. And if you go further away, it gives you also, in that mode, it gives you also, when we are here, a blurry experience in the optical perception. You feel it. There's something there that is blurry because your mind and your brain cannot recognize where to hold on something. It's like it's creating a visual optical chaos somewhere over here. So it becomes kind of like a dizzy, blurry feeling. And I think that dizzy, blurry feeling in the optical perception is that you experience a high-speed velocity, and the high-speed velocity is recognized by observing the objects which are being stretched, right, and becomes formless. It's like if you're sitting in a car in a train, it goes 600 per miles, all the objects you're passing by looks more or less just like a line, right? So, and if you keep moving the distance, but you still hold 120 degrees, all the objects are extreme stretched on your on your view field, right? And you have the blurry experience. So from here to here, it's a very interesting, from 12 inches to 18 inches, it becomes a very interesting operation field. Because the object in the mirrors, and you still have it 120 degrees, right, the mirror, the objects become extreme stretched out, like they become almost linear, like a line, right? And it becomes blurry, and you feel it. You have this blurry experience, and when you go further out to 18 inches over here, you feel like that that one object that it's been extreme stretched out by bending it, that through bending and distance, the one object falls apart in two objects. And what happens now is something is correcting and adjusting the third object that came out of those two objects, which I represent over here. I don't know if you see it. So it breaks apart, because you see it's gonna thinner and thinner and thinner, and then it breaks in two parts. And your eye and that's an interesting thing. Your eye need always something need something to hold on, to recognize something. Otherwise you get dizzy, blurry, and it's kind of like, so it tries to recognize something, and it seems like that the object that has been breaking apart, the particle that has been breaking apart, has created a third object, or a third object in the middle. And if you here in this area, it needs adjustments or correctness needed by bending it more, or a distance by bending it more towards the 90-degree angle, which is like this. So as more you go to the 90, from 120 is like around like this, and you get more to 90, it corrects itself. And what you see is at the corner, you see the particle, the object. You see the corner, for instance, you see the corner over here, you see a corner over here, or you see a corner on that. Everything where you see a corner, it represents the third. It's an accumulation, or the axis, or the third perception with that which first it was one object, then it breaks apart in two objects, and then it becomes, out of these two becomes the third object, and the third object, I think it represents the corner. The corner comprehends all two, and the corner is the third. So anyway, that's my model. You can watch it later yourself in a video, and you can read my essay. So I think that I came to the conclusion that a line, whatever it is, this line, or 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 this line, everything that has a line is a stretched, is a high speed velocity. What I want to say with it is that that we know, or we recognize, or we only know that high speed and velocity you can only get when you launch a rocket, or a fast train, or a fast car, or everything that accumulates speed. That's the only thing what we recognize as high speed velocity. But I think that there is an existing speed velocity we are not aware of, but it has manifests itself, and it represents through the bending. Like everything that is curved or bent, or it has a line, it's already a manifestation of high speed velocity by itself. So it's a high speed velocity that which exists already before the high speed velocity acceleration what we have created and invented, like the motor, and a train, a rocket, a fast car, automobile. That is something what we have invented, this high speed velocity as we are aware of. But there is an existing high speed velocity which I think is in bending. In bending and stretching is the manifestation of an first high speed velocity that already exists before our grasping or understanding, which our mind thinks anyway it's a curved space, but it's not a curved space, because the thing is that our mind cannot comprehend infinity and eternity. So I think that if you always represent 180 degree, and always what you're looking at is always on the other side. It's always also in a rest mode, the 180 degrees, which is this and this. So that's you, and anything you look at it, it's always in the rest mode in 180 degrees, right? So you're always looking in a mirror, so to speak. It's very interesting, the mirror. And let me add on something to that, because it just popped up in my mind. And I think there's really something interesting into it when we unfolding it, that the Pythagoreans, one of their rules or one of their laws were forbidden to look in a mirror. They said it's forbidden to look in a mirror. I don't know for whatever reason, but I think I just figured out for what reason. Because on a mirror, in a simple mirror like this, a flexible, bendable mirror, like I have discovered a really astonishing, interesting thing, which you really don't have to go up into space in the sky to experience high-speed velocity or what is space, time, bending, etc. Because everything takes place in a mirror, a bendable, flexible mirror. So I think everything that is bendable, everything that is flexible is a manifestation of a high speed, of an existing high speed velocity manifestation. And that's the stretching, and that is something that is curved and bendable. So everything that's bending, that's bendable, that's curved, that's stretching is already a high velocity speed velocity in itself, by itself. Because the interesting thing is, if you bend something, right? If you bend something, if you look in a mirror and you bend it, all the objects become formless. It has no more a shape like a triangle or a rectangle or a square. It becomes formless. It has no form. It becomes like a line. It becomes back to a line. Or like when somebody is painting something and all the colors go together, or you look in the sunrise and all the colors, the orange, blue, white, yellowish, all this merge together. This is what is bending. That's what is bending. That is what is stretching. And I think for that reason is that for some reason, way back in the days in history, we have invented geometry, or we have elicited geometry, like Isaac Newton, that everything on our optical perception is really geometry, and it's really incredible. And I also say that whenever you look up in the sky, day and night, what happens is all from here to here. And I think that from 12 inches up to the 18 inches, there's so much blurriness, so much dizziness, so much adjustment and correctness, we cannot really figure out what's going on in the upper atmosphere, in the upper hemisphere, because you need always a correctness and adjustments in the optical perception. Now when you look at those lines, just at those lines, you see also something significant. You see a single line which represents 180 degrees, and you see by bending that the form becomes more as an oval form, kind of like form. And as more you form it, it becomes then a rectangle form, right, a corner, and it becomes then, if you put the mirror on it, then you see it becomes then a square, an oval form, etc. So, and then another interesting thing is that you actually never perceive or see what is behind you, because you are at 180 degree and you can only see what is from here up in the front, right? In a certain area. But you can never see unless you turn around, right? Or you have something flexible, bendable, visible or invisible, that allows you to see beyond the 180 degrees. And the beyond the 180 degrees is also a very interesting thing, is because it's like the 180 degrees is a line. So you stay on one side. What is on the other side, right? So the interesting thing is we can see a line is between life and death, or on this side is It's very interesting. So as you see in these objects is actually how our environment is built up on. We see a lot of triangles, we see a lot of squares, we see a lot of cubes. Even I'm sitting here right now in a cube, which call it a room. And you see on each geometrical figure or object, triangle, rectangle, square, sphere, circle, you see always corners. You see always a corner, right? You see always corners. You see always, even in the room, corners. Always you see the rectangle corners, right? Everywhere you see, most objects, you see always this rectangle, triangle corner, and also those lines. So for me, I think because we cannot perceive the origin natural mode, we have design, which we may call chaos, because it's all curved, everything is that's what I think, that everything is bent, that everything is curved, that everything is stretched in reality. But our optical perception cannot perceive it because it feels like chaos, right? But we know it's bent, it's bending, it's stretching, and maybe out of that first idea concept was to create out of the lines, that stretching, that bending, we create objects which we call nowadays geometry. So it's very interesting. So I hope you understood what I was trying to explain. And it's really, really, really interesting that we are actually we have designed our manifestation, what we see in our surroundings, objects, everything, house, car, whatever, what you see. I think everything that is bending like this, or everything what is a line, or here it's bending, it's curved, or here you see corners and it's curved, and kind of like a rectangle. I think that all lines, all rectangle, everything that is bent is already a manifestation of high-speed velocity. So when you look at objects, right, it's already everything that is stretched, curved, bent. It's already a representation of a first unrecognized high-speed velocity, right? Manifestation. And we have created a high-speed velocity apart from that. Through acceleration, like train, like airplane, or when we launch a rocket. That's a copy of a replica of high-speed velocity. But the high-speed velocity in its origin, it already existed. It's already existing in objects, in anything that it's bent, that is curved, that is a line, that is stretched. That is all a manifestation of a high-speed velocity. And it's really interesting that we have designed and created our world in geometrical figures, objects, so we can recognize time and space. And I also think that the light is the first thing of everything. Everything is light. I think because of bending light, a lot of things happens, and we can really be thankful for that gift, for the blessing we have about the light what we get every day. And also what is interesting, a sphere or a circle, because it's really geometry. Everything is really geometry. Everything is based on geometrical objects, figures, etc. And it makes so much sense. It made so much sense, but it's also hard to grasp because we see geometry as normal already, because the thing is, we always scratch the surface all the time. So you never have a chance to really dig into it and perceive the full glory of everything. All right, thank you for watching.